Hey, Louis.
Hey,
How you doing, pal?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm surviving.
Survive. Come on, you gotta be better than
Okay, I'm
survive.
I'm more than surviving. I'm more than surviving.
Tell me you're thriving.
Yeah, in many ways I'm thriving. In many ways I'm
No,
thriving.
I mean, listen, both of our hearts go out to those people who have been hit hard by this, right? And there are many
Mm,
people who have been economically hit hard, have been physically and health-wise hit hard.
mm,
But for those that haven't, um, it's has also been an extraordinary time
yeah.
on so many levels. I know it has been for me, for my family, for my companies, and so forth. And despite all of the insanity, and it is a period like, from on one end of Mad Max movie to a science fiction movie, I think this has been one of the most extraordinary times of my life, and one that I've heard so many people say, I hope this doesn't end too soon.
Mm. Yeah, it's been crazy for me. I think obviously we met and spoke just before this all started, and then again kind of checked in maybe a couple of weeks into it, a month into it.
Yeah.
But the longer the time goes on, yeah, the more it's just kind of I feel I'm changed as a person. I feel like the way that I view my life and the world, it's given me so much time to slow down and reassess things, and I guess question a lot of the things that you don't question when you're operating at such a high speed. And I hope that's been the same for a lot of people that slowed down. Like you said, obviously there's some people that are really suffering right now through this, but for the people that um, are doing okay and they're just managing to stay at home and they're not kind of affected, you know i- in a really intense way by this. I think it's such an amazing time to reflect and question what we're doing with our lives.
I mean, so many levels, and I really, for those of you watching, welcome. It's great to have you. I wanted to maybe have us theme this conversation on the
Mm,
good news around this this pandemic, this stay at home, all of that. Like, what is it that's amazing right now? What is it that's different? What do we take away from this, right? Because we've said this so many times. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And so there's so much that I want to share and I want to hear about from you. I'll just open by saying, every one of my companies, I've got about, I don't know, I mean, I've started 20, 23, 24 companies over my life, and I'm actively engaged in about eight. And every one of them is using this time to reinvent themselves because either they have to or it would be a shame not to. And as I'm telling every entrepreneur, if you come out of this COVID-19, whenever we're coming out of it, and that's still a little bit foggy, if you come out of it the same way you came into it, you've missed an incredible opportunity in life to up your game with your family, with your business, with your motivations, with what you want to do in life. This is an amazing time to do that. And of course, this is again for those who have not had been hit hard by this, and there's many. There's a good 5% of the country is been hit by it in some way, shape, or form.
And I think for me, um, in a time where there's so much uncertainty about the future, in terms of the immediate future, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where we can go. And obviously, over the last 6-7 years, I was kind of a non-stop traveler. And then having this, the last year or so, luckily before this all kicked off, I have slowed my traveling down. I don't know what I'd be doing right now if I was in still full nomad mode. But I think I love this idea of kind of reinventing yourself. And I think for me, having this time to kind of stop and pause has helped me just, I guess, start searching for my deeper why am I doing things in my life? What impact do I want to have? But because there isn't a immediate future, like you said, it's kind of foggy. It's helped me be really present as well and realize, okay, what am I doing today? What's
Mhm.
the small steps I'm doing towards things? And it's really helped me build routine in, like being locked inside, it's like I feel like I'm in a really good space with my fitness and health. And yeah, I think being present is one of the things that might be the bonuses of this crazy time, is like it's helping people be present. There's no FOMO. You're not like always wishing you were somewhere else, because no one's really doing anything, anyway, there's out there, it's not like a fear of missing out of anything.
I just landed for the first real trip. I went up to the San Juan Islands for 4 or 5 days and came back through Telluride for 2 or 3 days. And, it was with the kids, and it was really enjoyable and reminded me what it was like to travel. Because like you, I was on an airplane on the average every day on an airplane to someplace, and like living as a nomad with my, I had it down just pat.
Yeah.
But even being away for the last 5 days, I missed what I had for the last 6 weeks, right? I missed that routine that I had developed, which was getting a great night's sleep every night, focused on my sleep. Never been focused on my sleep before. Sleep is so fundamentally critical for your immunity, for your health across the board. Getting up, meditating, quick workout, walk, and my diet. And I was, intermittent fasting, where I would like literally do a 15-hour on one day and a 20-hour the next day. And I'd gotten to this routine for 6 weeks, and my travel instantly destroyed my routine. Right.
Yeah.
And I missed that routine. So
yeah, I found it almost impossible to stick to routine whilst I was traveling nonstop.
So a real benefit of that, and just being present with the people that you love and your friends. So, pal, one thing that you and I both share, and I want to maybe have the conversation about it, is the importance of having positive news in our life. Right. And let me share a mindset for everybody who's listening to this. We've all been hearing about artificial intelligence and neural networks, right? So the way a neural network works roughly is you've got a set of large GPUs, graphical processing units, like in the Amazon cloud or the Google cloud or whatever. And they're structured to look like neurons in our brain. And they learn very much the same way that a baby learns. And you give that neural net, that AI data, you give it images, you give it data sets about the weather, about stocks, about whatever you're giving it. And the data shapes the neural network and gives you an answer. So, the notion is, in image recognition systems that use these neural nets, you put face images in, and it learns to identify what is a nose, a mouth, an eye, an ear. And people talk about these AIs being biased, are you biased against men or women or minorities, whatever the case. The neural nets aren't biased. It's the data you put in that is biased. So if you give a neural net only cat images, and you show it a photograph of a dog, it'll tell you it's a cat, because it knows nothing else. And in the same way, what we let into our brains, the data we let into our brains, shapes our thinking. And so if you are like my mom, who might be watching us, I don't know, Mom, if you are, hello in Boca. And she's got CNN on all the time, watching, CNN's in the background all the time. I call CNN the crisis news network, or the constantly negative news network. And if you're constantly listening to all the negative news about all the BS in the world, it's going to frame your brain to be in a negative mindset all the time. And so it's really important what you let into your mind, because it shapes how you think, right? I mean, I know you believe that.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on current news events like this, all this stuff with George Floyd that's been going on, like every single news network I've follow, my Twitter feed, everything, it's the riots, it's the talk about police brutality. And I think it's really important to be aware of the facts, but I've felt crippled with hopelessness, because what I'd love with the facts is some call to action that really makes a difference. And obviously this is a really complex issue that we don't have to dive into now. But like something like this, I'm like, I feel absolutely helpless. And I've other than using my platforms to speak out, to post kind of you know, the fundraising or petitions to sign, I feel like a lot of news, whether it's this issue or other issues, it gives us this negative information that these catastrophic things happening or these injustices happening in the world, and then it just ends there, and it just leaves us feeling like, well, what am I supposed to? How am I supposed to be a part of helping be the solution? You know, so I think if there is news that needs to be known about that is a kind of negative,
Yeah.
for me, it just has to come with a element of hope, an element of, okay, this is happening, but we can together make a difference.
I mean, yes, and we have to limit that negative news
Yes.
intake, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually, like, you can use Google News or Apple News. I developed a entire platform called Future Loop. I'll speak about in a second.
Mm.
But you can get an overview of what's going on in the world in like 10 minutes. It truly do. And if there's something that truly impacts you, it's like it's about your company, it's about your health status, it's about your town you live in. Fine, dive in. But this crazy uh, energy around all the negative news is just uh, it's perverse, and it's an addiction, and it just will keep you in a negative mindset. And I don't think that's where we should be. I mean, if you allow good news into your life, not so you're la la la, everything is happy, everything is good, not that BS, but just to have, for all the reasons you should have hope.
Mm.
It's amazing. There are so many reasons to have hope, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, and I think, like you're saying, it's not about rose tinting reality. It's actually the fact that at the moment we aren't being shown reality. We aren't being shown the balance of what's happening in the world. We're only shown the worst things happening because I think from our conversation before, you were talking about, you know, we are evolution's trained us to react to negative news more. So that's what we're, you know, the capitalist models of the media are like feeding on that to make money. So it's like,
Yeah.
can we find a way to ingest information and media that's not based on this competitive trying to get our attention? It shouldn't be all about that. It should be some, you know, giving us a balanced view of the world. Because I think a lot of the news right now, if you read, you'd think we're at the worst point in humanity's ever been, you know, that the world's in the worst state it's ever been, which just isn't true. It isn't
It isn't true by
factual.
a long shot.
Yeah.
People forget how brutal life was. You know, just to take a second to give people perspective, and I spend a lot of my time here, and I feel so lucky. I train my mind in
Mm.
an abundance and exponential way because of what I live in and what I take in. You know, just think about, for all of us. I mean, first of all, anyone watching this has got a digital connection with, you know, multi-megabit connections and a video screen on your iPhone or your tablet. And you have access to the world's information. You have instant access to anything that you truly need to know. You can look up health facts. You can do all of that. You know, 100 years ago, I mean, life was brutal. We had just come out of World War I. We had just come out of the Spanish flu, which infected a quarter of the planet and killed 50 million people in 1 year's time. I mean, immensely negative, and life was short and brutal, right? The average age for a man was under 40.
Mm.
That, you know, the average income people could not afford a house, a car, or any, you know, communications had just conceptualized. And so, you know, we romanticize, oh, the good old days. That's bullshit. You know, it was
Mm.
brutal. It was, you know, we had just, over the last 50 years, taking a vacation from survival. Life used to be about fundamental survival. My kid is sick. What can I do for them? Where do I get food? Where do I get how, you know, a roof over my head? That's what life was about. Today, when you're thinking about, oh, I'm bored, what do I watch on TV? I mean, contrast that to what life was like, and you realize how absolutely lucky we are.
Yeah. So how do you think we see a shift from this fear-based media that we're all falling into, this constant consumption and fear-mongering that keeps us in this state of anxiety and negativity. How do you think as a global society we are going to see a real shift away from that? And what does it
It's
look like to consume media in the future?
yeah, it's first of all, one of the things to realize is we've learned, if you eat garbage food, you're going
Mm,
to get sick, right? If you're, we saw, what was it, Super Size Me, that documentary, right? If you eat a Big
yeah.
Mac for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, you're going to be deathly ill within a year. If you're eating sugar and processed food all the time, you're going to be deathly ill over the course of a lifetime. And if you let negative mindsets, right? And negative mindsets come in a few different things. What do you consume from TV, from radio, from podcasts, from everything? Number one. Number two, who do you hang out with? If you're hanging out with negative people all the time, right? So there's an old saying, if you're overweight and you want to get thin, hang out with thin people. If you're not in good shape and you want to get in good shape, hang out with people who work out, right? So you're an
Mm,
average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending time with? What is their attitude? Are they excited? Are they happy? Are they positive? Do they see the massive opportunity? Because we can all be depressed in the moment if something happens, if our friend is sick, if we lost our job. But you know what? We're in a world of extraordinary opportunities. Back
mm.
in 2008, when we had this massive economic shutdown, when the world came to a crashing halt economically, people lost their houses and so forth. What came out of that was one of the most extraordinary financial booms for the last 12 years. It's been the longest continuing bull market. We created out of that Venmo and Airbnb and Uber and Slack, and a whole bunch of amazing companies came out of that. So, you know, I'll speak about one of the things I've built, which is Future Loop. But tell us about what you're up to first, pal.
Yeah, so as I mentioned briefly, like obviously the last, so I've got a YouTube channel. I've been creating content online for, I think almost 10 years. And a big part of my kind of passion was traveling and making travel content with a hope to kind of inspire people to get out there and see the world and kind of challenge their perception of reality and hopefully give them a broader understanding of humanity. And that was my passion for many years. And then over the last kind of year and a half, 2 years, I've really shifted into slowing life down. I feel like I'm in a new phase of life where I'm not so fast paced. And like I said, kind of it's kind of good timing that this is happening now for me versus a couple of years ago when I don't know, I would have been in a panic, like having everything built around this nomadic lifestyle. So yeah, moved to LA, a year and a half ago, and I've really just been connecting in with other influencer friends in LA and thinking, how can I serve them? How can I help support um, the kind of other influencers and creators I know and their audiences in teaming together to, I guess, find ways to make social impact and changing the world more accessible. Because I think there's often a threshold of people feel like if you're an activist or you're trying to make a difference in the world, you have to go all in. It's like 100% or nothing. So people are held on a pedestal, and then other people that are trying to make small changes in their life to make a change feel like, oh, I can't commit to trying to be an activist or do something good in the world. So I think that's part of my mission now is I've set up this thing called the Social Good Club, and I'm teaming up with a lot of other influencer friends and finding ways that we can make good news and explore topics and find really powerful ways that us and our audiences can make a difference in the world. So for the last few months, we've been regularly posting on kind of Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the social platforms. But yeah, just starting a conversation really and coming up with some cool content formats to just start bringing more positivity and hope into the world.
Which I think is so important. Again, you are a result of the people you hang out with
Mm,
and the media you consume. as well as the food you consume, but just,
Yeah.
the perspective of your mental mindset. If you're in a positive space, you're seeing opportunity. If you're in a negative space, you're feeling totally decimated and screwed. And
Mm.
people don't like hanging out with negative people who are down in the dumps. And so that just gets you further down in the dumps. So, being able to realize how powerful all of us are to make a difference in the world, it's extraordinary. In a
Mm.
small way on day one, and a little bit bigger on day two, and a little bit bigger on day three. Um, One of the things I did, and I, definitely would love to support the Social Good Club in any way, shape, or form that I can.
Mm.
Call me in, coach. I'm there for you.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks, man.
uh, but one of the things I realized was when I'm looking at the news, CNN, I don't watch Fox. That's just my bent. I'll watch a little bit of CNN, like 15 minutes max on occasion. Or I'm on Google News or Apple News. I don't read newspapers anymore. Uh, the question is, who is deciding what I see? Because someone or algorithm is showing me the stuff that's coming up to me, and most of the stuff is salacious and or just clickbait, and it's it's crazy. So about 3 years ago, I started on a project in which I wanted to, I know that there's a massive amount of amazingly positive news out there that never gets coverage because people pay 10 times more attention to negative news than positive news.
Mm.
And so I wanted to create an AI engine that would scan all the world's information and be able to deliver to me information about any subject I'm interested in, typically industries or projects, whatever the case might be, in which converging exponential technologies. So when I talk about that, I mean the convergence of computation, sensors, networks, AI, robotics, 3D printing, synthetic biology, augmented virtual reality, blockchain. Those technologies are coming together, converging, and getting more and more powerful, and reinventing industries and reinventing products and services. And so I wanted to look for, so we built an algorithm. There's an amazing entrepreneur, Morgan McDermott, a brilliant full stack AI guy that I brought in with my business partner, Eben. And we created an algorithm called Future Loop. You can go to futureloop.com, it's free, in which it searches the world's information, millions of articles, journals, social media, newspapers, magazines, scientific journals, and it collects it and it looks for positive positive stories. In other words, the positive news around something. It looks for like two or three technologies coming together on reinventing an industry. And so every day I get an email at the end of the day with like the top most important dozen stories in the industries I care about. So I might put food and healthcare and aerospace in there, and it services amazing stuff. We ended up doing a version of it for COVID-19 in which it looks at what are all the technologies solving COVID-19, all of the vaccines and the diagnostics and the antivirals and the therapeutics. And so when I look at this, I go, every day, holy shit, that's amazing. All this amazing stuff is happening that no one's talking about. It's out there. I talk about the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic has been the first time that ever the human race has had a singular enemy, one enemy. And somewhere between 100 million and 200 million doctors, nurses, scientists, engineers, technologists are all focused on slaying that enemy and reinventing society to make it safe and thrive for us. And so massive amount of change. And this AI engine in Future Loop, you can customize it when you get there. Put in your interest. You can put in like shoes or t-shirts or kids or whatever you want. And it looks at all the positive minded exponential tech impacting that industry. So it sort of shows you the future of the industry in a really powerful fashion. So I hope you'll check it out.
Yeah, is that live now? Because I think I was on the site when it was just set to like the COVID information.
Yeah, it's live now, and you can get an end-of-day email. One of the things we're going to be adding that is so cool is you can. So right now, we're going to be end of next week. We'll add this where you can create an avatar of people who you're interested in. And so there's an avatar of Elon, of Ray Kurzweil, of myself. We'll add other people, and we train that avatar based on all of those individuals' social feeds and what they've written. And so that avatar goes out and finds articles that virtual Elon would like.
Oh, I
Or
like it. So
virtual,
it's almost like you would be getting the feed of somebody that you're inspired by.
yes, exactly. So
I
that's
like
the
that.
goal and the final result. And you can put in the people you're inspired by and what news are they excited about, and that will surface it for you. It's not there yet. It's built. We'll be rolling it out.
Wow, I'm having a look at this. This is really exciting. I can't wait to stop reading all the other news and just start
Yeah,
choosing my own food.
I've been complaining about the news media for so long. I was like, okay, screw it. I'm just gonna have to solve this problem. So shall we answer some of the questions that people have here?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. It says, okay, here's some questions coming in that Talia is sharing with us. What are the high potential crazy ideas you're hearing about during this crisis? How are you going to be, who are going to be the next Ubers of this new era? How will this pandemic affect more rural areas? Let's start with that. Are you hearing good ideas out there?
Yeah, let me think. I mean, I think something that has excited me is during this time where we're all locked in our houses and trying to communicate over Zoom and stuff, I think this will boost a lot of these communication technologies.
100%.
I still think it's crazy, for instance, that even the most high-end computers right now have these really low resolution cameras that like no one's, Apple have just failed, in my opinion, massively. I mean, I'm using another camera that I've had to buy, and a piece of technology, like a bit of hardware to like wire in to get better quality. But I wonder whether during this time, I don't know companies specifically, but I'm sure everyone's scrambling to do it, is really heighten your communication, like the quality of communication you can have virtually. So I've got like a Oculus Quest VR headset, and I would love to be talking to you right now in a 3D. Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine right here.
Yeah. So imagine right now we could just put these on and talk to each other in a VR 360 3D environment. And I think the technology's there. I just think people need to start using it, because this is great to chat. I feel like we could be sitting in the room, we're chatting away, but if we had I know the technology's there. So
you can imagine. So yeah, and I bet, and I know for a fact, every major tech company and a ton of entrepreneurs are investing in making the next generations of Zoom. I mean, how crazy that 5 or 10 Zoom calls a day. I was on yesterday when I was in Telluride. I had a Zoom call, but I was in a lousy Wi-Fi area, and it was with 3 people. And I said, "Can we just get on a phone call?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so telecom, next generation of Wi-Fi, 5G is rolling out. These devices right now are, for those who are interested, are about one megapixel. Wait, let me get the proper. It's 1K per eye.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doubling in resolution in the next generation from both Oculus and from HTC. And so the resolution will jump up high enough where you can read on it, because you can't read on these right now.
I need to show you some tech I got. One sec.
Okay, please.
So this is, I haven't tried this out yet, but this is a company called Insta360 sent me one of their pro cameras, and this is a 360 stereoscopic 3D 8K resolution camera.
Nice.
Which essentially
sporting events.
What's that?
For like sporting events and so forth?
Yeah, so I haven't figured out what I would use it for in my house yet, but I was just thinking this is the kind of technology which, once it's more accessible, because I think this is like $5,000, but I feel like obviously technology is advancing so quickly.
It
I
is.
wouldn't be surprised if we're going to have handheld, at least 180 VR kind of devices that we can do very realistic kind of video calling with.
So huge amount of money going in, but that's the technology world. The question is to entrepreneurs watching this, what are you going to build on top of that? So once we've got 4K per eye resolution, and then once we get to 8K per eye, and we've got foveal rendering where you can render a higher resolution depending where you're looking, and the resolution is as good as taking on or putting, you look out or you put it on, it looks the same. How are we going to use that for reinventing education or reinventing meetings? So I think we're going to reinvent the office space. I think it's going to be in your home. A lot of what's going to happen is people are going to give up going to the office. A lot of companies are saying, hey, we're not going back to work. We are at work. This is the way we're working now. And so let's figure out how to make this really thrive. And a lot of us are, I've got a few different company teams, and my core team for my PhD ventures and my Future Loop, we meet every day on the average, and it's never been better connected, never feeling more connected than we do. So it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would have thought before all of this that not being physically with a team would make you feel disconnected, but I felt the exact opposite. Like you said,
Yeah.
I've been on calls multiple times a week with my business partner Brandon, and like I'm blown away by the fact that I haven't physically seen him since this all happened. Like how many months now? Like over 2 months ago. But I feel like I've seen him most days, and I think that's made me realize, yeah, this virtual connecting is going to continue. I think obviously meeting in real life once we're allowed to is important for human connectivity, but I definitely think being at home and being able to spend more time with your family and stuff is going to be so much better than commuting. Like when I worked in an office years ago, I was commuting like 2 hours a day.
Yeah, what a waste.
And this is going to be, yeah, what incredible if you could use that 2 hours then to spend with your family. As soon as your work's done, just press off and walk into the other room. Do you know what I mean? I think that could be massively beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, let me hit on a few more questions here. What are your thoughts on the rise of conspiracy theories since COVID? I've seen a rise on my social media feed from people that are generally very positive. I think people are looking to blame something or someone. And so just to put it out there, this is not a man-made virus. I've got that consistently from every physician, PhD lab I have. This is not caused by 5G. That just makes me, laugh. And so, was this something that came from bats? 100%. I think the genetics there are very clear and clean. Did this leak out of a Chinese lab? Probably. It was probably a lab in Wuhan that was studying bats and viruses in bats, and maybe a bat bit one of the employees and they didn't tell somebody and got out. I don't think this was intentional by any government. So it's
And then what about the conspiracies around vaccinations?
So my position is I think vaccinations are one of the most important inventions the human race has ever created. The theories around vaccinations causing autism are false. The data there, I've seen it, they do not cause autism. Please, there are, do you know that I just watched a TV documentary on this, that the first vaccinations are hundreds of years old when cowpox, when smallpox and cowpox, and people just hated the idea of putting a virus into their body to vaccinate themselves. And the vaccination conspiracy theories are equally hundreds of years old. This has been going on for a long time, that people are concerned that vaccines cause all of these things. The vaccines save probably tens of millions of lives over the years. And when a parent chooses not to vaccinate their kids, they're putting everybody else in danger. Uh,
Mm,
as a physician, not a practicing one, but as a scientist, I really believe that. And so I think vaccines are critically important. Um, and what we're seeing right now is the kinds of fear and loss of control that occurs when you don't have a vaccine to fight against an infectious agent like a virus.
And I think for me, and I've been really thinking about this because I've got a few friends that are very skeptical about getting inoculated or getting vaccinated. You know, a lot of friends say to me, "Oh, this becomes a mandatory vaccination. Like, I'm not going to do it." I think partly what it comes down to is a distrust of science, a distrust of I guess the pharmaceutical industry, which maybe there's some validity to distrusting certain industries, and a distrust of the government. And growing up in the UK, where we have a national health service, I feel very differently towards the medical industry, not feeling like they're not there to exploit me and sell me drugs I don't need and all of this, and make a profit from me, because I grew up in a country where it is free to me. So I don't have this distrust. But I understand in America where, you know, there's the pharmaceutical industry isn't ideal. Like there's, you know, where I can see why people could feel there's this profiting happening. There's a lot there. So I wonder whether partly this idea that, oh, a vaccination is just going to be to make somebody money and they're going to patent it and then make billions, and it's all this kind of stuff. And I just wonder.
Yeah. So I agree with you. There is
Yeah.
lots of reasons not to trust the pharmaceutical industry. Having said that, the pharmaceutical industry has done an incredible job at dealing with disease. Like HIV/AIDS now is a manageable disease. It's not a death sentence anymore.
Mm.
That didn't come out of no place. It came out of research and billions of dollars being invested and so forth. Now, does the pharmaceutical business um, it's not they're not angels, right? They're trying to maximize their profits and such, but they've also changed the world in a critically important fashion. Let's go to another question here. It says, are we on track to 100% renewable energy by 2030s? I think we're on track to have the vast majority of the world on renewables by then. I think we'll get to like 80%. I think there will be areas where hydrocarbons, because of the fuel density, will be critical. We don't have electric jets. I saw years ago a design on Elon Musk's whiteboard for an electric supersonic jet. That was pretty cool. But we'll have, you know, we'll get to 70, 80% renewables, I think, which is, I mean, one of the most amazing things in the pandemic is giving Mother Nature a break, right? It's like reduce cars, reduce jets, reduce all of that. Here's one for both of us. How do you create new health habits during this lockdown?
I think for me, I guess in the realization that I've got all this time. We don't know when this is going to end. I just thought, okay, if I can just build in a small part of my day, even if I want to binge like a Netflix show or something, or I just, you know, I don't want to guilt people that are needing to just switch off during this time. But if I can just allocate a small portion of my day just for some health practices and fitness and build from there, it was very achievable. So I didn't want to like overwhelm myself, because I've always felt overwhelmed by these idea of like huge workouts for an hour. And so I just initially started doing like this 5-minute ice bath plunge where I would push myself into this discomfort. And it really helped me mentally overcome this idea that if I can mentally sit in ice water for 5 minutes a day, I can achieve anything. It was like this very, very powerful routine I got into at the beginning. So I've been doing these 5-minute ice bath plunges every day, and it gives me this mental ability to then feel like, oh, I can achieve anything today if I can do that. So then I started doing a few just small fitness routines that take like 10 minutes, just a few chin ups and push ups. And so for me, that's kind of been I'm slowly building into. And then I've with some of my housemates who also feel like they want to do more fitness, we've started holding each other accountable, like you were saying, like whoever you surround yourself with. And I know right now some people are isolated, and most people are isolated and they can't be around people. But even if you're in your family, just doing some fun fitness things and making
Yeah,
it fun as well, you know?
you can do a Zoom call with people that you enjoy. So like
Yeah.
when we set this up, for me, it was like, yeah, I would love to spend an hour with Louis and catch up with him.
Yeah.
And this is fun, right? So
Yeah, for
like
sure.
it's super enjoyable. But so who you on the call, who you on a phone call with, who on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call with? Let me just real quick on that question of habits. Real simple stuff that people can do. So number one, if you've not started meditating, go get a meditation
Mm,
app, right? Calm is a good one. Sam Harris has a great one called Waking Up app. There's dozens of them. Doesn't matter. Pick one. Um, and meditate for 10 minutes a day, sometimes maybe twice a day. Make it in the morning, see what it feels like. To get a habit, you have to do something consistently for like 30 days, 60 days in a row. No better time ever. That's one thing. Second thing is on the workouts, I use an app called the 7 Minute Workout. It's by Johnson& Johnson. It's free on any phone. Get it, and you can get 7 minutes. And I feel like I got a good aerobic workout in that 7 minutes, and then I will try to get 10,000 steps a day. So those are my numbers that I feel like that is my value of health. I'm hitting those things. And then what I've experimented with amazingly has been intermittent fasting over these last 60 days, where I don't have breakfast. I have a cup of coffee and I have a large jug of water that I put some vitamin powder into. And I will every day go until noon. I'm just breaking fast now. And on like 3 days a week, I'll go till 4 and I'll have my last meal at 8. So I'll have a 20-hour fast. One of the things we forget how much energy our digestive system uses. And so when I'm doing these like 20-hour fasts, I'm vibrating with energy. So people can try that. So and then the last thing is sleep. Get into a habit of trying to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
yeah. I'm
That
probably
those
getting a lot more right now. I'm probably getting more like 9 or 10 hours some nights. And then for me as well, like my diet, like a few years, I've been vegan for a few years now. And for me, this could be a time to experiment with your diet if you're, eating a lot of meat and dairy. At least try and cut down and just see how it feels, and see if I found I got a lot more energy and feel a lot healthier. And there's the added bonus of knowing that it's doing better for the planet and for animals. But I saw on Instagram or something that you've recently gone vegan or
Yeah,
plant
so
based.
I was pescatarian, if you would. I was vegan and added fish up until November, and then I ended up just for cardiovascular reasons. When I look at my genetics from my dad and so forth,
Mm.
cardiovascular is the only real risk I'm concerned about. And so I made a hard over uh, going vegan in early November, and so it's been 6 months.
Wow.
And I found it super easy. It has not been a problem at all. I miss bacon, but there's a vegan version of bacon coming online. And I have the question here that came in is like, have you had your blood check yet? What's your diet look like? And yeah, I got an amazing, I have my blood, I did a full health checkup, and I'm in the best health I've ever been. Uh,
Wow.
Period, no question about it. And diet is pretty easy. I have one cheat day per week. I didn't say that. Saturdays, I will have breakfast, and I realized I can have breakfast at night. So some days I'll have like granola with almond milk at like 8 o'clock as my dinner, because I really love breakfast. It's like I could do that. So diet's been really easy. I feel great about it. Um, Here's one for you, pal. What can we do to empower local communities to be resilient in case of global national supply chains? Can you
Mm.
talk about human mind and health mutations and the jobs of the future? So communities and jobs of the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the supply chain issue, I've been thinking a lot about this. As a house, we live with 6 of us right now, and we've had a lot of conversations like, how can we be more self-reliant in the stuff we're doing, and we're making slow progress. Obviously, we still are relying on a lot of stuff, but one of the things we've been talking about is, even though we don't have a lot of land and space to grow things here, we are in the next few days going to start. We've got some planters, and we want to start just experimenting with growing our own food, and even if it's just to supplement the other food we're buying right now. But I love the idea. In a dream world for me, I would be living on a property where I could be growing all of my own food, or if not, at least buying local and knowing the people you're buying food from. I think in that case, there's not this panic when if supply chains dry up and slow down, like you saw kind of a panic buying at the beginning of this crisis. And I think there's something exciting about, and the same with renewable energy. If we were able to get to a point, and I think I've met people and been to properties which are fully powered by their own solar and stuff like that. And um, I like this idea of, if possible, to go as to be as self-sustainable as I can. And that also looks into like my buying habits and consuming, and just questioning, do I need to consume as much as I do in terms of products? And I think during this time as well, because I haven't been buying as much, and I realize, this is, although maybe that harms the economy in some ways, it makes me realize, oh, I don't need all of these things,
I love that. It really is begins to question how important those things are. I think I'm buying more Oculus video games for my boys than anything
Yeah.
else. Uh, yeah, and by the way, food you grow yourself tastes like 10 times better.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think from my standpoint, resiliency uh, is part of the new business economy that's coming. So if you're an entrepreneur, figuring out how do you make your community resilient is, find a great problem and solve it. So restaurants are going to become kitchens with a limited front face, and delivery services that come out of that.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a restaurant that pivots and says, listen, not only are we going to deliver the food to you, we're going to come with a wait staff, set up the table, set up the
Mm.
plates, serve you your dinner, and take everything away and give you a beautiful dining experience as part of it. We're going to create a service around it, and so there'll be new businesses that come out of that situation. Um, and I think becoming resilient on energy and food, we're going to start to see the rise of vertical farms. A lot of my venture fund, I have a venture fund, Louis, called Bold Capital. We've been looking at investments uh, in vertical farm technologies, robotics that basically are growing food 24/7 in the perfect frequency and the perfect micronutrients. And then we're working on an X Prize that I love, coming out of Abu Dhabi, funded by a dear friend, Tony Robbins. Tony is his big philanthropy is a number of them. One of them is feeding people, because when he was a child, he was fed uh, on Thanksgiving Day by some neighbors, and he always wanted to give back, and he gives back at literally 500 million meals, I think, a year. He feeds the
Wow.
world. Insane.
Yeah.
Guy's one of the most beautiful, generous humans on the planet. But he helped me get funding for and contributed for a Feeding the Next Billion. So can we grow stem cell derived fish and chicken and beef so that we can actually, as people become more and more economically capable, they all want higher forms of protein. And we can't, we're a planet of, like, I think the number is like, don't quote me on this, but it's like roughly 38 billion chickens and,
Mm.
like, 6 to 8 billion pigs and the same number of cows. I mean, it's massive amount of livestock, and 1/3 of the non-ice landmass of planet Earth is used for raising livestock. And so could we grow the protein in the lab?
Mm.
Can we create the most amazing Wagyu beef or hamachi tuna that
Yeah.
tastes better, is cheaper and healthier for you, that's the goal. And I think
Or even
technology.
some of the plant-based protein alternatives that they've currently got in the market are pretty incredible to me. Like I remember first tasting those and thinking,
Yeah.
if I'd had this 10 years ago, I would have gone vegan 10 years ago. It was,
So I probably half of my lunches are Beyond Meat sausage.
oh, it's the
I
best.
love the Beyond Meat sausage.
It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. What decentralized solutions empowering local communities to provide their own food, water, energy, communications? Do you think we will see a universal healthcare in the next 10 years? It's all about the healthcare part. I think the healthcare industry here in the US is sad. Um, Super expensive, super broken, uh, and it's. I think of two industries that are ready for complete and total disruption and decimation. It's healthcare and education.
Mm.
I think we're going to reinvent healthcare a
And
lot.
maybe even law enforcement as well. I wonder whether there could be some real radical reinvention with the current news. But it's exciting. I think, like you said at the beginning, if we can focus on solutions and positivity and be, take situations that happen, whether it's the failing healthcare system and the failing education system, the failing law enforcement, it's like, using this opportunity and think, okay, so here's a problem. Let's do some problem solving together as a world, rather than pointing fingers and blame and getting angry with no solutions. It's like, it's good to feel motivated. It's good to feel, I do feel emotional right now about the way there's injustice in the world, but I want to channel that rather than, and obviously people can channel that and behave whatever they feel they need to. But for me, I don't want to be rioting and smashing things, but I want to use that energy and anger and frustration and think, okay, I want to channel this to be part of a solution. I guess the big question is, what do those solutions look like? And I love that you've dedicated your life to looking at global solutions, and I'm really inspired to just learn from you and take that approach and think, I just want to be part of a real solutions to a lot of these issues we see around us.
Yeah, I mean,
um
the way I think about it, Louis, is I really believe there is no problem we can't solve.
yeah.
And so it's the right thought, the right convergence of people and intention and capital and technology can solve any problem. We take for granted all of the problems that we've solved to where we are right now. The incredible abundance. I mean, when I talk about abundance, every one of us have all the computing power we need, access to all the information in the world we need.
Mm.
We forget, right? So here's blackberries, and I'm eating. It's like I can get blackberries 365 days of the year. That's incredible. I can
Mm.
get any food I want, and we take that for granted.
Yeah.
And in the food supply chain, any of these things, it's just we live in an amazing world, and we really need to stop and be present and say thank you. I'm grateful.
Yeah. And for me, I think on that same thought, just access to information and education, and like you're saying, obviously we're overwhelmed with information right now, but if you're intentional about seeking out the information, it's just an abundance of really powerful educational stuff. Like I got a couple of weeks ago, just has this sudden urge to just consume documentaries. I just couldn't stop. I was just watching everything. I was like, wow, like, some of this stuff I just wouldn't have been able to do years ago. It just wasn't out there. It wasn't accessible. There's behind paywalls, or you had to go down to Blockbusters and get it out. And then apps as well. Like one of the questions I just popped up about, am I playing this guitar? And like, I just randomly found an app, and it's just like step by step giving me all the guitar lessons I need, and it's all on my phone. And I'm like, wow, like, I just think, it's all out there now. And I think it's become totally accessible to anybody, as long as you've got the technology, like a smartphone or a computer. I guess it has leveled out the playing field in terms of education, right? And access to
Yeah.
education.
Whatever you want to learn, it's pretty much there for free.
Yeah.
I mean, you can wrap other benefits around it and pay for those services, but it's pretty much there for free. Um, Working from is the next question. Working from a home, of course, has its benefits, but I'm worried about the loss of physical interaction between people. What do you think of this loss of physical interaction?
Hmm.
So I'm a hugger. I know you are
Me
too.
too. Yeah.
And so it's like I miss that. And I hate the idea that handshakes and hugs are going to become this weird thing that we've let go of. So I'm hoping that post COVID-19 vaccine programs, which will happen, I'm tracking them in great detail. I'm involved in one company that's got uh, is absolutely safe in humans, and we've checked we developed 30 different vaccines in animals. We've identified two that work extremely well, and we're going into human trials. Um, I'm super hopeful that we'll get to the point of where we can hug and be physical and not fearful about people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think virtual interaction isn't going to replace real community. And I think if anything, uh, doing the virtual interactions and saving commuting time when we can will actually increase the time we can spend with people that we care about and the people we want to spend time with.
Well, pal, speaking of which, we're coming up on the hour here, and I love this, and I would love to do this again.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to talk about issues happening around the world, solutions. I'm gonna start using the Future Loop website to consume my media now for
Yeah.
sure. And
I'd love your feedback on it when you get a chance.
yeah, absolutely.
And
And
to everybody watching, please realize this is an extraordinary time you don't want to waste. How will you come out of the COVID-19 slowdown or isolation or quarantine or pandemic, however you want to label it? By the way, how you label it has a lot to do how you think about it.
mm,
Um, what do you want to come out of this with? Stronger relationships, new ideas for companies, a mission in life, new habits that you love. What is it that you want to come out of this? Because you can and you
mm.
should. And it would be a shame if you came out the same way you went in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love the what you were saying about using this time to reinvent yourself, and I think whether that's personally on a personal level or on a bigger scale of like reinventing how we want these systems in the world to work. I think this the silver lining is that this is just an exciting time to to imagine together what can be next, what can come next. So yeah, be inspired, be hopeful, and yeah, I just want to thank you again, Peter, for being one of those people in my life that inspires me and makes me hopeful about the future.
Same here, pal. And let me know how Social Good Club is rolling and what I can do to support you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Take care, pal.
Cool. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
all. Bye.
Bye.